Okay, so today is the 1st of September and it's another rainy day here in Cape Town. I'm driving to work. If you watch this vlog regularly, you'll think that it only rains in Cape Town, but of course there's an intersection of factors. I only ever drive my car when it rains. Other than that, I'm on my motorbike going to work. So today I'm in my car again. It's the 1st of September and supposedly spring day in the southern hemisphere. I can tell spring is coming because the sun is rising earlier when I go for a run or a cycle, and it certainly is getting a little warmer. Although in Cape Town the winter weather can stick around sometimes as late as November. I remember a few years ago I rode a stage race, mountain bike stage race, and the third day was cancelled because of snowfall. So we still have a little bit of cold weather ahead. But as Beme said, the Brazilian, hope is hearing the melody of the future, faith is to dance to it. And so I know that summer's coming, spring is here, and I must say it's so cool, so relaxing to drive to work in my car. So this week I've been teaching a Master of Divinity intensive course. I get to teach a couple of weeks to our Master of Divinity students every year, and I normally start the year with the church and public life, and then later in the year I teach some systematic theology and theology and science and a few things. But this week I was teaching on youth and moral formation together with my colleague Dr. Chantel Weber. As I've been reading ethical theory recently, I've seen that there's been what Samuel Wells calls an Aristotelian turn, a turn to the philosophy of Aristotle that stated that you will do what you are. So before you can do right things, you have to be a right person. And of course in ethics we speak about that as virtue ethics. So the character and values of the person is that from which their actions flow. I was speaking to one of the students in the class yesterday who was a former member of Mkhonto weSizwe, the African National Congress liberation movement's army structures, and he said after the dawning of democracy in South Africa, he joined the South African National Defence Force and was once deployed with the United Nations peacekeeping mission in Africa. And he said it was interesting to see how during the day these UN forces spoke about human rights and human dignity, but at night they would drink and they would have extramarital relationships, be engaged in illegal activities in the communities for which during the day they were working for human rights. And he said it struck him there that what had happened was that these people believed in a certain concept. They had a sort of cognitive idea of what human dignity and human rights were, but they themselves had not yet come to embody it. And I think this is the place in which faith-based organizations and certainly churches play a wonderful role. One of my favorite theologians, Stanley Hauerwas, I spent a year or some time at Duke Divinity School back in the mid to late 2000s, and got to know Dr. Hauerwas then. And he always says that the work of the church is not to make the world a better place, but rather to help the world to become the place that God has created it to be. Now, isn't that a wonderful way to think about things? God has created the world to be a place of justice, a place of peace, a place of fullness, a place where humanity and creation can flourish. And the work of the church is not to be engaged in political activity primarily, or in social welfare, although of course we must do that. But the work of the church is not to make the world a better place, but to help the world to become the place that it was created to be. So just to conclude, I was really struck by Paul Ricoeur's notion of moral formation and ethics. And Ricoeur says that there are three aspects to moral formation. He says that we have the good, the right, and the wise. These three aspects need to be present when we form people morally. The good obviously is virtue. What is good? What is a good person, and how do we embody goodness in ourselves? The right is justice. What must we do in this moment in our society, not only as individuals but also in terms of policy, in order to see that justice prevails? How do we change the systems and structures, economic and political, the medical care systems, education, to see that justice prevails? But the third one that he adds is the whys, to say, what is there that we specifically can do? What is there that I can do in the place where I work or live? How can I get involved in some way in my community, in my church, in local government structures, through an industry body in which I work? How can I wisely use what I have and who I am in order to see that justice prevails? So my encouragement to you is, again, as I say always, this is not a lecture, it's just a thought, and I hope that something of the importance of a human rights culture will permeate not only your life but possibly also the ministry of your church, your faith-based organization, and that you can be part of seeing that just humans create a more just society. And so, of course, these things are not mutually exclusive. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't work for human rights or justice until humans are right. They happen at the same time. But it just reminds me that there is such a wonderful role to play in helping the human person to become good and right and wise in what they're doing. So thanks for watching today's video. If you found it helpful, I ask you, please subscribe, share it with others, stick it in your Facebook, retweet it, like it if you feel it was helpful. Leave me a comment in the comment section below. Many folks have been doing that. It's always great to hear from you, to try and answer any questions that you may have. And yeah, look for me on the various social media at digitaldion. I'd love to be connected with you. So remember, it's not a lecture, just a thought. Thanks for watching today.